Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show today, guys. We got some amazing, great news for you, and it's all going back to putting more money back into Americans' pockets. So Trump is flirting right now with the ultimate tax cut of all, no income taxes. This is huge. We have news now from Rand Paul over a 2,000-page documents that have been sent to the Doge to clean house in America, guys. This is huge. This would literally impact every single American, and they would be able to keep so much more of their hard-earned money, on average between 10 to 15% of their check every single week. They said this would be the most impactful to America because if people can keep 10 to 15% of their paycheck every single week, they will be able to use that, spend it, and grow the economy. And on top of that, just think about all the fraud in the government waste that they now say, Rand Paul says, is in the trillions of dollars every single year. In this 2,000-page document that they have submitted to Doge, they have outlined all the biggest waste in government and also all the places where we can't even account for the money that's being given to the government. So with that, this would be the ultimate tax cut of all, not just giving Americans back their hard-earned money, but being able to grow the economy and stop the wasteful spending. We also have it where RFK, who just announced on day one that he's going to ban GMOs in the United States, is now getting attacked with smear campaigns from the Democrats. Literally, this guy is focused on making America healthy, getting away from things that literally cause cancer and some of the foods that is being sold in America that's banned everywhere else around the world, and people are fighting him on this. But now that Rand Paul is working hard with the Doge Department of Government Efficiency, they are now listed out so much ways that we're going to be able to eliminate and save taxpayers money. But at the same time, they're going to limit government and reduce the amount of federal agencies out there from 428 down to just 99. And you wouldn't believe it. Well, you know what? You can't believe this because the Democrats have now come out and said they're going to boycott the inauguration for Trump as president. And I'm all for it. You know, go ahead. Don't go. And give me one of those seats so I can go and take TrueLife News family there. But we do got a ton of great news, guys, over the actual plan, the thing that they're actually going to do to put America back on track in just a moment. But I want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. Thank you to all of our subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And thank you so much to all of our members of the channel who make it happen every single month. Appreciate you. And if you don't mind clicking the thumbs up like button, it really does help to grow the channel. And if you want to be a member of the channel, the link is in the description to join. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation on this channel. We're so excited. In less than 2 weeks, we're about to give our biggest donation ever live on channel. And it's all because of you. But I want you to hear this too, because we've been talking about all these plans, but now we're actually going to see the actual plan coming from Rand Paul's mouth over what they're planning to do. Check this out.
Senator,
you know,
what the hell are they doing?
My joke is, my joke is when they finally get the charging stations up and running, someone's going to go in there with their car and say, oh no, they have the wrong plug. It doesn't fit. We can't charge our car here. Government is incompetent, and we should keep government out of everything they do unless nobody else will do it. But you're right. We're going to be celebrating Festivus on December 23rd. It's the day in which we air our grievances. I will air my grievances towards big spenders of both parties. We will talk about electric charging stations, electric cars, but we'll also be talking about government funding for ice skating drag queens. We'll be talking about taxpayer-funded magic.
Slow down. Can I let me stop you there? Ice skating. All right. How much money are we spending on ice skating drag queens? How much? You know, how many hard-earned taxpayer dollars on that?
I can tell you the total will be in the hundreds of billions for the entire Festivus report. I don't have the breakdown on each individual one, but I can tell you that there are millions of dollars being spent on magic. I can tell you that there's also going to be some money for the southern border, but not the southern border of the United States, for the southern border of Paraguay. So you know, we fund small businesses everywhere. One of my favorites was when they decided that they would spend $1 million studying what happens to Japanese quail. Are they more sexually promiscuous when you give them cocaine? This is stuff you can't make it up. But it's both parties, and I will air my grievances with both parties on this. That was about $1 million.
Citizens Against Government Waste, I think was the name of the group. I mean, this is madness. Now, on a serious note here, I do like the idea of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, and they're volunteering. They're not getting paid to do this. But
that's the best part.
They're going to they think they can find $2 trillion in government waste, fraud, and abuse. I have always believed that our framers and our founders wanted limited government, greater freedom, not a womb to the tomb, cradle to grave utopia that always ends in failure and unfulfilled promises of more poverty and a loss of freedom. So are we going to get to that point?
You know, I'm helping Doge. I talk to Vivek weekly. I've sent him 2,000 pages of waste that we've already discovered.
Wow.
The one thing you have to remember, and I know you know this, that it's a bipartisan problem in the sense that last year they passed a chips subsidy bill. This is a bill where they're giving billions of dollars to big companies like Intel and other people that make chips. But in it, they doubled the size of the National Science Foundation from $4 billion to $8 billion. Where does most of the crazy studies that I point out, the studies about if you sneeze on the food, are you more or less likely to eat that food? That one costs $2 million. They come from the National Science Foundation. And Republicans and Democrats got together last year and doubled the size of the department. So we have to have more pressure on Republicans. We won't get any Democrat votes. We have to have more pressure on the big government Republicans to vote for the things that Doge will bring forward and also the things that I've been bringing forward for nearly a decade.
Yeah, unbelievable. Senator, thanks for what you're doing. I mean, some of this is funny, but it's not funny when you consider how hard the American people have to work to pay $1 billion in taxes. And, you know, they spend this money frivolously. And you know what? Americans need their money back. And we do have to pay down the debt. And we do have to fund Social Security, Medicare. You know, they're both headed towards insolvency. And by the way, we do need to build up our military because we do have a gap of vulnerability. This is unreal. Anyway, Senator, Merry Christmas.
Guys, I'm telling you, 2,000 pages of reports of government waste. And that's not even including the fraud, guys. Over $100 billion, $100 billion every year in Medicare and Medicaid fraud, Social Security fraud. It's unreal. But this is the big one. With the ultimate tax cut, no income taxes whatsoever, the Trump War Room put this out. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, tax deductible interest on car loans, make America wealthy again. Guys, this is great news because we just found out that they released this 2,000-page report to Doge outlining all the amount of money that can be saved and reducing the government waste. How amazing is that? If I can get my hands on these 2,000 pages, I will, guys, and I will show you them. But I want to show you something else too, because remember, there's lots of things that moving parts happening right now. And the biggest thing is the pardons, because we're trying to hold people accountable. Well, guess what? Biden is trying to pardon more people on top of the 1,500 that he just pardoned. Guys, this is literally insane. Check this out.
Is going to go out and call out corruption in the FBI, despite the corruption being documented. Everybody knows the FBI made up the collusion hoax in conjunction with the Hillary Clinton campaign. Everyone with a functioning brain. You don't have to be an expert. Everybody knows the FBI was spying on American citizens. They admitted to it. Everybody knows about the FBI scandal with the MAGA hats, the Moms for Liberty, the pro-lifers. And here's CNN acting just completely stunned that, you know, you guys only believe the FBI is corrupt because people talk about FBI corruption. What kind of stupid-ass logic is that? Watch
Sorry,
this.
guys.
Point out two things. One, politically, Patel, to me right now, has a lot of support in the Senate. I think a lot of these nominees, you know, some are in trouble. I don't think he is right now. I mean, he's going to obviously have to go to the table and answer questions just like everybody else, but there is enthusiasm for him. 10 years ago, the FBI had a 59% approval rating. Today, it's like 41%.
Folks, you cut that off too soon. They're stunned. You got to get the Abby Phillips response in there. Jim, cut that for the radio. The Abby Phillips response, I may have sent the wrong time marker. She's like, oh my gosh, this is just like election denying. You guys are suggesting that the FBI is corrupt, so the public believes the FBI is corrupt. No, the public believes the FBI is corrupt because of how I opened up the show. Because you, people with influence and followings on social media, have shown everyone that the FBI and the upper levels of it is in fact corrupt. I'm really sorry you in the media can't take it. I mean, you're supposed to be on the side of facts. Let me play this one more before the break. I want to play this one, too, because it's important. The Rachel Maddow one. To show you how left-wingers are full. We don't have this problem. You tell me national debt, the national debt's an issue, I tell you I agree. But Republicans do it, too. I don't care. It's still wrong. The left has no ability to do this at all. Here's a side-by-side hat tip the great Maze Moore of Rachel Maddow. One of the biggest bullshit liar frauds. She's a Rhodes Scholar, folks. She's an expert. She's a dumbass and a liar and a phony and a fraud. Here she is on her show talking about Donald Trump potentially pardoning people in his family. And she's like apoplectic about how horrible it is. So much so she's like ready to cry. She needs to go to a break. And then you're going to hear after that, Rachel Maddow feeling slightly differently about Joe Biden actually pardoning his own son for crimes I believe Joe Biden was involved in.
Bam.
Watch this.
President Trump, as he winds down his last few weeks in office, is considering preemptive pardons for all his adult children, including his son-in-law, Jared. What a mess. More as we know. Cue all the hand-wringing and gnashing of teeth today about a president using his power, his pardon power, his powers as president, to do something for a family member. Tell me more about how outraged we all are about President Biden's pardon for his son.
What a hypocrite.
You know, folks, you would think these people would seriously have some shred of human dignity and integrity. She doesn't care. She doesn't care that she looks like an... It doesn't matter. No, she legit doesn't care. She's a commie. They abuse power. They're into hierarchy, and they don't care about hypocrisy. We're in charge. You're not. We're going to abuse power. And when you're in charge, we're going to attack you to abuse power. I just want you to know these people are disgusting. And this is why Stewart and these other people out there are so intimidated that this is the #1 live stream in the world right now for politics, and they're not. Because they can't continue to lie to you because they're not a source of information anymore. I got another one coming up. Karine Jean-Pierre totally nailed on the pardon thing. You told us over and over, conclusively, there will be no pardon, period. I've already addressed it, done, it's never going to happen. Now what happened? Watch your response like nothing happened. Hierarchy. Commies believe in hierarchy. They don't care about looking like hypocrites at all. That the only way to beat the left is to take them off the political power pedestal. That's it. They don't care about being exposed. The reason we expose the hypocrisy is for the third party listening, the independents who are coming over to our side. It's not for them. The commies can only be defeated by removing them from power, period. Karine Jean-Pierre is a perfect example right here. Ed O'Keefe, who's a left-leaning guy, I have no doubt. But he asked her a pretty simple question. Hey, man, basically, why'd you lie to us about the Hunter Biden thing? I just want you to watch the spin, and I want you to see here. See if you sense a second of embarrassment at all, because I don't. Check this out.
When you're standing there at the lectern, you are White House Press Secretary speaking on behalf of the president, conveying his thoughts and views of the administration. And it's for that reason that you said on his behalf all those times that he had no plans to do what he did on Sunday. Has he expressed any regret to you directly, personally, for having put you in this position and now having to go back?
Look, I understand this question, and you started off, I think the way you started off the question is basically how I feel, right? And I think all of us who work in this administration, I work for the president, I speak for the president, I comment on behalf of what he feels and thinks, and that's my job. That's my job as the press secretary, the White House press secretary, the person who speaks on behalf of the President of the United States. And that's how I feel.
Folks, there's not a shred of embarrassment there at all.
Guys,
He's going to go out and call out.
Guys, they don't even care. Like, what I'm about to show you next, it's insane that Joe Biden was deemed unfit to stand before trial, before the classified documents. But, you know, Wall Street Ape's big account on X said this: Joe Biden was deemed too mentally unfit to stand trial, but they allowed him to send billions overseas, authorize missile strikes, pardon Hunter Biden for 10 years of crimes, pardon 2 Chinese spies with 47,000 files of inappropriate child photography, and commute sentences of 1,500 criminals. It doesn't make any sense. And you know what? Guess what? It's not stopping. He wants to pardon more people. Check this out.
Hunter's a free man after Daddy's pardon, but he doesn't really want to talk about it.
Hunter, how do you feel about being pardoned? How do you feel about being pardoned by your dad?
Biden got so much flack for pardoning his felon son and lying about it that he said, screw it, I'm pardoning everyone. The president dished out 1,500 pardons and commutations. He just broke the single-day record, attaboy. And Biden didn't just pardon dandelions who should have never been locked up in the first place. He's letting out crack slingers, drug traffickers, some of the most notorious fraudsters in U.S. history. One guy smuggled cocaine, heroin, and ecstasy into our country. Another guy recruited drug dealers so he could pump cocaine through American cities. Not a great look, but a lot of presidents have pardoned nonviolent drug offenders, if you can call that nonviolent. Where Biden really went off the rails was with white-collar criminals who took bribes and robbed taxpayers. Now, that sounds familiar. Biden commuted the sentence of Jimmy DeMora, a Democrat politician in Ohio, who was just locked up for taking $500,000 in bribes.
Wow.
And Jimmy didn't just take cash. You could bribe him with trips to Vegas, bribe him with prostitutes. You could even bribe him with stone-fired pizza ovens. Jimmy was running pay-to-play schemes. If you lined his pockets, he'd give you a nice government contract or jobs or raises. He'd even interfere with court cases. Biden let the guy walk. Biden also let off Paul Daugardas, a sleazy lawyer who cooked up a tax scam that cost our government $1.6 billion. Prosecutors call Paul the most prolific, pernicious, and utterly unrepentant tax cheat in U.S. history. And a judge said this was the biggest tax fraud prosecution ever.
And he pardoned him.
And Biden heard that and said, let him free.
What the crap?
Biden also let out Elaine Lovett, who used an army of doctors to scam Medicare out of millions of dollars. And then there's Rita Crundwell. She embezzled more than $50 million from a small town in Illinois. Biden's okay with that. And he let out Michael Conahan. It's a Pennsylvania judge that was involved in the Kids for Cash scandal. You ever heard of this? This dirty judge gave thousands of kids harsher sentences so they would be sent to for-profit detention centers, which would then send kickbacks to the judge. Why would Biden help this guy out? Here's the governor of PA.
I do feel strongly that President Biden got it absolutely wrong and created a lot of pain here in northeastern Pennsylvania. It also affected families in really deep and profound and sad ways. Some children took their lives because of this.
Wow.
Families were torn apart.
Look, everybody makes mistakes, and some people deserve second chances, like me. But these people took advantage of the public's trust.
Yeah,
Why
they
would
did.
we bail them out?
And their money.
Because Biden respects people who rip the government off? Because his family's been selling the Biden name for years? This is the type of fraud Doge is promising to clean up. Maybe that's why Democrats want to keep Elon far, far away. The holidays are a time for reflection, and Tim Walz is finally ready to sit down and look back at his weird little campaign. Turns out it was the economy, stupid.
It might be true. Not enough focus was put on inflation and the costs that those brought to people. Understanding that immigration and border control does matter to people. It doesn't mean that you're
Sherlock.
cruel or you don't care. And I think that's something that In the 90 days I was out there, we apparently didn't make that connection strongly enough because it was middle-class folks. So there were folks that weren't voting for us would be the very folks that I care that our policies impact. And that disconnect was obvious in the results.
I think he said they didn't focus enough on inflation, but he's not a very clear speaker. This, I understand. Listen.
I thought it was a real flex when the Wall Street Journal pointed out that I might have been the least wealthy person to ever run for vice president. And I thought that would be something people say, well, this guy knows where we're coming from. He's had to pay his bills. He had to do, and still does.
Walz thought it was a flex that he doesn't own a house, has no investments, didn't save for retirement. He's proud of that. Putting a guy who doesn't know how to handle money in charge of spending our money doesn't make a lot of sense.
Wow.
Walz hasn't really made peace. He's still bitter about it. Quote, somehow we decided that electing a billionaire who screwed the middle class his entire life was better for the middle class. Who knew making housing affordable was not as strong a message as they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. God, I like the rhyme of that. Meanwhile, we're getting more behind-the-scenes color from the Harris campaign. Mark Cuban says the campaign would give him cheat sheets before his TV hits.
Wow.
And if he didn't stick to the script, he'd get yelled at.
I would go into immigration. And, and I was honest. I would not let the Harris campaign tell me what to say. They would try to give me notes, and I would say, I don't care.
That's what they always want from a surrogate, is for them to go like, hey, man, screw your notes.
The Democrats can never shoot from the hip and let it rip. Everything they do is from the top down. Pelosi, ginning up another coup. This time the victim? AOC.
Wow.
Nancy and AOC haven't liked each other for years. Big reason, AOC wants a congressional stock trading ban. Need I say more? So AOC is gunning to be ranking member of House Oversight because Raskin bailed, but Nancy is actively working to tank the campaign. Axios says Pelosi has been approaching colleagues, urging them to back Jerry Connolly over Ocasio-Cortez.
Guys, they're eating each other.
But this isn't just a personal beef. A crop of upstart Dems want to coup the old guard and take their cushy committee gigs. As the House is divided, 2 squad members delivered their farewell address to Congress last night, and only 3 people showed up.
Ooh.
Here was Jamal Bowman's swan song. Listen.
Yeah, I wish I didn't pull that damn fire alarm. You know what I'm saying? But,
Goodbye, Fire Marshal Jamal, and good luck. Fox News contributor
Guys,
and author of The Greatest Company.
I'm telling you what, it is mind-blowing to see how the Democrats have literally just imploded on themselves. I want to show you this real quick because, again, too, the biggest and greatest news, guys, is that, we rely on our money that we bust our butt for every single day. And when we see crap like this, Hamsters Fight Club, this was from Rand Paul. The National Institute of Health spent over $3 million to watch hamsters fight on steroids. You can't make this stuff up. Rand Paul has been fighting the government waste for a long, long, long time. $3 million freaking dollars to watch hamsters fight. In 2021, every single year around this time, December 23rd, he does a festive report, which we'll be showing on the channel. In 2021, he posted $52 billion of government waste. And what you're about to see now is they actually have a plan. Over 2,000 pages that have been given to the Doge Committee to help with reducing government waste, trillions and trillions of taxpayer dollars. That's why I showed you in the beginning, the ultimate tax cut of all that Trump is pushing for is no federal income tax. Check this out.
Let me ask you about something that I'm 99% sure you're very happy about, which is the Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, headed by Elon and Vivek. I mean, I feel like this is like if you could have done exactly what you wanted to do and start a new government institution, even though you don't want to expand government, this is what you would have done, and probably you're feeling pretty good about this thing, right?
Absolutely. I've been in contact with Vivek several times. I know him well, and we're giving them ideas. We have supplied them with over 2,000 pages of waste that we have culled through for the government and think could be removed. We love the idea of actually making government workers show up. I know that when Elon took over Twitter, he said you had to show up in person, and about a third of them quit. He then said you had to not only show up in person, but be prepared to work overtime, and another third of them quit. So we'd love to see that kind of result in the federal government. We would also like to see some of the spending that's not necessary be sent back to Congress. There's a special procedure called rescission, and when it comes back to Congress from the president, it actually can be cut with a simple majority vote. That's something that has not really been utilized. It was not really utilized in the first Trump administration. But if they utilize that and come to Congress and work with convincing some of the weaker knees up here, the bigger government Republicans to go along with the cuts, we could cut a tremendous amount, but we need most of the Republican votes to stay together to be in favor of cutting spending.
Guys, it's time to cut spending because, again, too, remember, there is a team of pit bulls. Josh Hawley, Rand Paul, John Kennedy, all of them are focused on what? Making government limited. And we got some more news. We showed you a bit of this yesterday, but there's another part to this where John Kennedy lays out more of we're sending billions and billions of dollars to dead people, and they're cashing the checks somehow, and they're spending the money. Guys, you can't, this is as corrupt as it gets. Check this out.
The Department of Veterans Affairs, and I'm not blaming them. In many respects, it's not their fault. A couple of years ago, a scam artist stole the Social Security number of a deceased veteran, and received about $825,000 in checks.
Ooh.
From 1997 to 2024. Now, the person committing this fraud was just quietly accepting the checks. Somehow the Department of Veterans Affairs, and for some reason, stopped sending that person the checks. So the fraudster just picked up the phone and called the Department of Veterans Affairs. He impersonated the dead person and convinced them to start sending the checks again. Again, not necessarily the fault of the Department of Veterans Affairs. The VA didn't know that the Social Security number belonged to a deceased person. Another example, a person in Ohio was able to collect her deceased mother's Veterans Affairs benefits for 48 years.
Holy moly.
48 years before she was caught. The truth is, Mr. President, it's sort of like saying, being asked, you didn't go fishing on Saturday. How many fish do you think you didn't catch? We don't know how much money we're sending out every year to dead people.
Wow.
Let me give you an example of how screwed up the data is, Mr. President. This is a strong indicator of what's wrong. The Social Security Administration, if you ask them, will tell you that there are, according to their records, there are 6.5 million Americans living today in America who are 112 years of age or older.
You got to be kidding me.
They say there are 6.5 million Americans who are at least 112 years old or older. Now, I don't know about you.
That's a lie.
Mr. President, but I don't know anybody who's 112 years old. And I checked, at any given time, there are about 40 people on an ongoing basis in the world who are fortunate enough to live to be 112. But the data is so screwed up that according to SSA, 6.5 million people are 112 years old.
Wow.
A number of years ago, 7 years ago, I started working with Senator Tom Carper, a fine American, if there ever was one. I started working with Tom on this issue. I went to Social Security, and I said, look, this problem is easily solved. Just share the death master file with other agencies, and especially share it with the Department of Treasury. I don't want to confuse anyone, but the Department of Treasury has a do not pay list. of people who aren't supposed to receive checks for a variety of reasons that other agencies consult. But I said to my friends at Social Security, why don't you just give the death master file to other agencies? They said, we can't. It's illegal. The way we construe our enabling statutes, we don't have the authority. Well, I said, okay, I'm not going to argue with them. We'll just go pass a law.
Yes.
It was harder than I thought, but we did. In 2020, Senator Carpenter and I passed a bill. The bill was called Stopping Improper Payments to Deceased People Act. And it gave the Social Security Administration permission, and indeed directed the Social Security Administration to start sharing its list of dead people with other agencies in the federal government. I don't want to get down in the weeds, but believe it or not, we had people oppose the legislation.
Wow.
And many people within the federal government. So in order to get our bill passed, we had to compromise. We had to agree to only implement this requirement that Social Security share the list of dead people with everybody else. We could only get them to agree to do it for 3 years for a trial program. This clock started ticking on our 3-year period in December of 2023. So obviously, 3 years is right upon us, and if we don't make this program permanent, it's going to expire in 2026.
Guys, I'm telling you, you can't make this stuff up. There's so much government waste and fraud, but this is why Trump said it. Trump's not a stupid guy. Neither is his team stupid. They wouldn't say these things because everybody's like, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? Because they know that there's trillions of dollars of waste and fraud in America, and if we clean it up, we can give back Americans all their hard-earned taxpayer dollars. But no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, tax deductible interest on car loans. On top of that, the best news of it all, the great news is no income taxes at all. If we can get to that point, a lot of Americans would be winning every single day. And I love it because I think the Trump Dream Team is continuing to grow. And this is one of my favorite out there. I think she kicks butt all the time. Check it out.
This is a real subcommittee, and I'm very excited about this opportunity, Steve. This is the whole reason why I ran for Congress. I ran for Congress to gut the federal government of waste, fraud, and abuse and get rid of the unelected bureaucrats and the horrible spending and ridiculous programs that have brought us to $36 trillion in debt. I also ran for Congress to make sure that we passed President Trump's agenda, and that was back in 2020. You know, I was one of those people that was upset about Paul Ryan and about how the Republican-controlled Congress never got Trump's agenda done. Well, this is an opportunity, being the chair of a subcommittee on DOGE, where I will finally get to work on the very things that led me to run for Congress in the first place. It's also one of the most important things we can get done in the Trump administration, and this is a one-time opportunity through President Trump and his appointment for Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy to lead up this DOGE commission. This is going to be almost 2-year process going into July of 2026, where it will be an entire process. But the subcommittee on oversight is an extremely important piece because this is the way Congress can work hand in hand to expose everything that needs to be exposed, things that people have heard about but they've never seen.
Yep.
And we can do that through this subcommittee on oversight. This is a real
Guys, again, the dream team is growing. Let's go, baby. Thank you so much, Christine Engler, for the super chat. For the gifting 5 True Life News. And what's new for the super chat? Merry Christmas to Joel and True Life News family. Let's go. Y'all show them some love in the chat, Christine, and what's new. So, guys, I'm telling you, the Democrats, they can't contain their hatred, for the Republicans. Axios is reporting that Democrats are potentially planning to boycott President Trump's inauguration. I think go right ahead. Give me one of those tickets. I'd like to go. I'd love to go and take the True Life News family there. On top of that, they're also attacking RFK Jr. big time. Why? Because he wants to make America healthy. You cannot make this stuff up, guys. It is ridiculous. Check this out.
The MAGA movement's going to food court. First of its kind lawsuits accusing top food companies of designing addictive foods and drinks and marketing them to kids, causing chronic diseases. Coca-Cola, Kraft, Heinz, Nestle, just some of the major companies hit with the lawsuit. Big Food's pushing back, saying the suit gives processed foods a bad rap. Quote, there is currently no agreed upon scientific definition of ultra-processed foods. Attempting to classify foods as unhealthy simply because they are processed or demonizing food by ignoring its full nutrient content misleads consumers and exacerbates health disparities.
Wow.
While Big Food's fighting in court, Trump and RFK Jr. are ready to fight in the court of public opinion. They're just a month away from shaking up Washington and the entire food industry. MAGA moms who have seen toxic foods hurt their families see a new hope with the incoming administration.
What was your reaction when you saw that President Trump had named him to this incoming position?
I cried. Many other people cried. We were so excited.
Guys, it's happening.
I was, had been a lifelong Democrat.
In this election, did you end up voting Republican?
Yes. I think a lot of our moms didn't necessarily just run to the right. They felt abandoned by the left. And when the right said, hey, we're here for you on health freedom, they said that's something that I can align with.
Parents of all political stripes are worried about their kids' health and their husbands. And they're cheering on Trump and RFK Jr. Democrats are realizing that once again, the right is on the side of the people and their voters are switching sides. But instead of playing ball and fighting for the greater good, the left is lying to you.
Say goodbye to your smile and say hello to polio. I would laugh if it weren't so scary. Donald Trump just picked RFK Jr. to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. This is a man who wants to stop kids from getting their polio and measles shots. He's actually welcoming a return to polio.
Except that he's not. Democrats in the media have been trying to take down each of Trump's cabinet picks for weeks. The New York Times ran a little hit piece on RFK and vaccines. Kennedy's lawyer has asked the FDA to revoke approval of the polio vaccine. The Times had so little to work with, they were forced to admit the truth. Just a few paragraphs down, writing this. Mr. Kennedy, President-elect Donald J. Trump's choice for health secretary, has said that he does not want to take away access to any vaccines. But don't expect the media to let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Guys, I'm telling you, if they don't have the facts behind them, it really always bothers me too, because it's always just smear campaigns. And whenever we actually see the real facts of what's actually happening out there, then it's that's why people are moving more to the conservative MAGA side. I'm not even going to say Republican anymore, just MAGA, Make America Great Again. So this breaking news came out today, guys. Russia strikes 10-year deal to supply India with 500,000 barrels of crude oil per day for a $13 billion annual revenue. Guys, the reason I'm showing you this is because they're getting enough money. Russia is trying to call a ceasefire. Ukraine said, no, we're not doing a Christmas ceasefire. And Russia, everybody put sanctions on Russia because they went and attacked Ukraine. But guess what? It's been 3 years, and now people are taking away those sanctions, and they're starting to do business back with Russia again. This continuing will continue to escalate the war, on top of, again, too, if we don't get a ceasefire. And what's even crazier is that we're here in America. We've got these dang stupid drones that are flying over people's homes all across America. The government said, we don't know where they're from. And then whenever they asked Homeland Security to take them down, they said, we don't have the authority. You can't make this crap up. I've heard from my from sources that I've read that it's the actual government that's doing it. That's why they're not saying anything. They're testing out all kinds of stuff of what they can and can't do. Let me know your thoughts because this is getting wild. Check it out.
Of the unidentified flying objects in the Northeast, including from New Jersey's very own U.S. Senator. Even New Jersey's governor now is sounding the alarm, but still no answers from your federal government. We got the details coming up in just a moment. Also, as Donald Trump's Department of Government Efficiency is now planning to slash government waste, fraud, and abuse and regulation. We'll check in with Senator Rand Paul for a preview of his annual, Festivus report, he calls it. Anyway, prepare to be outraged how your money is being spent by your government, your hard-earned tax dollars. Also tonight, a former North Carolina stripper now finally telling the truth. Crystal Magnum, remember her? 18 years ago? Well, she was in the Duke lacrosse case. She is now admits she totally made up the rape allegations against these Duke lacrosse players back in 2006. By the way, we were right on this program on that issue. The damage has been long done. And with the help of the woke legacy media mob, the far-left professors at Duke University, the lives of these innocent college athletes were totally upended. We have those details tonight. And later we're going to tell you, well, there are some D.C. restaurants, they're planning to resist and take their power back from the incoming Trump administration by punishing them and not serving them in a restaurant. That might be called discrimination, according to the Washingtonian. Anyway, these workers in D.C. are pledging not to serve Trump officials or Trump supporters, which is pretty dumb.
Can y'all believe this, guys?
There will soon be no tax on tips. Bad service means lower tips. All right, but first tonight, good news. In less than 2 months, the greatest political comeback in American history, it will be official. Joe Biden, along with his entire pathetic administration, they will be out of the White House, and not a moment, frankly, too soon. After trying to put his chief political rival in prison with a weaponized DOJ, Biden will hand over the keys to Donald Trump, whether they like it or not, and leave office as the worst, most corrupt, most incompetent, most divisive one-term president in modern American history. And his final act as commander-in-chief, well, is very much on brand. Instead of working to make the country a better place in his final days in office, Joe Biden is solely focused on sabotaging the incoming Trump administration.
It's so sad,
while also
y'all.
making some very dumb and, frankly, even dangerous decisions. Now, that doesn't seem to make any sense at all to anybody, does it, except them? All vengeance. Now, for example, according to reports, Biden is now trying to quickly offload construction materials that you paid for that were to be used for the border wall that they stopped building. They're selling him at really low discount prices. What does that mean? That will force the incoming administration to spend more of your money to buy the new materials to complete the wall that Donald Trump says he's going to complete, and he will complete. He thinks he's hurting Trump, but all he's really doing here is wasting your money, all of it spiteful vengeance. At the same time, Biden just made it easier for illegal immigrants during his final weeks in office, allowing them to bypass in-person ICE check-ins with a new app. And according to reports, he is now letting in as many illegal immigrants, unvetted, of course, as possible to thwart the Trump agenda.
Wow.
What, more murderers, rapists, cartel members, gang members? Let's see. More drug dealers. Is that what he's doing? More terrorists? And now, not only is our southern border a disaster, but illegal crossings from Canada, they too are skyrocketing. And you have hundreds of terrorist suspects that have been arrested. Biden is not only leaving Trump with wide open borders, but he is creating the greatest national security nightmare danger to all of you, and that's waiting to happen. I hope it doesn't. Overseas, Biden is actively sabotaging Donald Trump's upcoming peace efforts. He knows that Trump wants negotiated settlements in the Middle East. He knows he wants them in Europe. He's supplying now Joe Biden is Ukraine with long-range missiles and escalating a conflict that pretty much has long been a stalemate. He also, by the way, pumped another $20 billion of your hard-earned tax dollars, your money, into Ukraine to help prolong this conflict. Now, since the fall of the Soviet Union, we have never been this close to a nuclear war. Even Vladimir Putin changed his nuclear policy because of the weapons that Joe Biden is giving Zelensky in Ukraine. But Democrats, they're also now attempting to pass legislation to limit Trump's authorization of America's nuclear arsenal. By the way, that would be clearly unconstitutional. And meanwhile, in the Middle East, the U.S. is currently targeting Syria with a barrage of airstrikes after U.S.-backed rebel groups toppled Assad, and there are now fears that ISIS might take power.
Wow.
Joe, take the next 38 days off, go to the beach. You're doing more harm than good. And back at home, Biden's chief of staff, well, is openly encouraging the administration in their last 38 days to spend as much money as possible in their final weeks in order to fund woke projects and leave Donald Trump with even more burdensome debt.
Guys, this is
But that's not
joke.
Donald Trump's debt. That's your children's debt and your grandchildren's debt. And over at the DOJ, a watchdog was, quote, struck by the sheer magnitude of new hires as the Biden administration is trying to, quote, Trump-proof the DOJ by hiring permanent appointees to some federal positions. And of course, the White House is trying to ram through federal judges at a record pace. And Joe is also now reportedly considering preemptive pardons for many of his friends in the Washington swamp. That would include people you know: Hillary Clinton, Liz Cheney, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Benny Thompson is begging to be on the list as well. Now, he and Liz Cheney were on the January 6th committee. Are they trying to hide something? Did they lie? Did they commit any crimes in that sham January 6th committee with a predetermined outcome? But we're supposed to believe that the people that raided Trump's house, spied on his communications, indicted him on, what, nearly 100 cooked-up felonies as he was running for president. Now, all of a sudden, they're worried about a weaponized DOJ? Maybe they fear what they did to Donald Trump and others. Maybe they're fearing that will be done to them. I don't think it should be, but probably that's what they're thinking.
Guys, let me tell you this. Trump came in, and there's a lot of people. I want to show you this video that just they're acknowledging what Trump has done and what he's able to do. And what I love is that even with all the opposition coming from the Democratic side right now, boycotting, all this spending, selling the border wall, it's just plain stupid. It's a spit in the face to every single American. But what I love is there are people that are coming around. You ever heard of a guy named Van Jones from CNN? You're not going to believe what you're about to see next. Check it out.
How the hell did Donald Trump figure out the mainstream media is the fringe and the fringe is now the mainstream? How the hell did Donald Trump figure out? I mean, Joe Rogan is obvious, right? Like, we knew the guy had a big audience. It's not like we were like stunned, but like, how the hell was he, the 78-year-old guy who doesn't even have a computer and still like writes handwritten notes? How did he become the guy who cracked the code on, to your point, running a cultural, I don't even want to say campaign, running
it was a movement. Look,
heading a cultural movement versus a campaign.
Every one of your people knows Elon. Listen. So everybody keeps, the problem is you have a framework in your mind that, how can Donald Trump? Guys, can we cut it out? Donald Trump is not an idiot. Donald Trump, let me just be very clear. Donald Trump is smarter than me, you, and all critics. You know why we know? Because he has the White House, the Senate, the House.
Totally agree.
Court, the popular vote. He has a massive media ecosystem bigger than the mainstream, built around him and for him, and a religious fervor in a political movement around him. And his best buddy is the richest person in the history of the world, and the most relevant Kennedy is with him. This dude is a phenomenon. He is the most powerful human on earth and in our lifetime. And we're still saying, well, how was this guy? We look like idiots to ordinary.
You're totally right.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that. That's a good laugh. Like, hey, when Van Jones says Donald Trump's smarter than everybody else because he was able to pull all these people together, the facts are the facts. I love it. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. If you're not subscribed, why not? Hit that subscribe button, please, so I can serve you every day with the top news. And if you haven't hit the thumbs up like button, please do so. I really appreciate your support. And thank you to all of our members of the channel. If you want to join the True Life News fam, the link is in the description to join. And thank you to everybody that supports the True Life News channel with all your donations, super chats. Thank you so much, Christine Engler. What's new for your support? Y'all show them some love in the chat. Guys, I'm telling you, great news. So much good stuff today. Trump is moving forward with the dream team, reducing government, waste and size, and just putting us back to where we need to be so that Americans can keep pushing forward, being the best in this entire world and showing everybody how it's done. Love everybody in the chat, guys. Appreciate y'all so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.